All right, let's get right into it. Deep inside every hospital, there's this incredible, high-stakes battle happening every single day. We're talking about the sterile processing department, where a silent war is being waged against invisible threats. And you know what? It's a war they absolutely have to win. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. The stakes really couldn't be any higher. And that's exactly why hospitals don't just hope for the best, they rely on this amazing, multi-layered system of protection. A team of what we're going to call hidden guardians. They're the ones who make sure every single surgical instrument is truly sterile. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and meet them. So, our first guardian? Well, it's the machine's own internal witness. This is our first line of defense, and it gives us the raw data, the play-by-play of the battle that just took place inside that sterilizer. As a sterilizer is running its cycle, it's constantly logging these key parameters. Think of it like the machine's sworn testimony, right? It's all captured on printouts or in digital logs, providing hard evidence of the exact conditions inside that chamber. So what this really tells us is that the machine did exactly what it was programmed to do. It hit the right temperature, it held it for the right amount of time, and it did it all under the right pressure. Basically, the machine followed the recipe for sterility to the letter. But here's the catch. Does knowing the oven was set to 350 degrees guarantee the cake is perfectly baked all the way through? Of course not. This guardian, it can't see inside the wrapped packs. It knows the conditions were met, but it doesn't know for sure if those conditions reached every single surface of every instrument. And for that, we need to go a layer deeper. To solve that problem, we need eyes inside the pack. And that brings us to our next set of guardians. The silent watchers, the sentinels that communicate through the simple but really powerful language of color. These are the chemical indicators, and you've probably seen the tape on the outside of a sterile pack, right? That tape changes color to show, yep, this pack went through the process. But, and this is crucial, there are other indicators inside each tray, and their job is to confirm that steam, the actual sterilizing agent, penetrated the packaging and got to the instruments. And the main advantage here is that immediate, at-a-glance visual confirmation. A technician, a nurse, they can just look at it and instantly know that the package has been processed. It's a really quick, effective check. But you gotta ask, right? A color change confirms that the pack was exposed to sterilizing conditions, but does it offer absolute proof that every single little microbe is dead? Well, no. It's a super important piece of the puzzle, but it isn't the final word. For that, we need the ultimate proof. And this is where we bring in our third and most trusted guardian. This is the heavy hitter. This is the one that doesn't just check the conditions, it confirms the kill. This is the gold standard. And what's really fascinating here is the specific microbe they use. Biological indicators contain these incredibly tough bacterial spores, because the thinking is if you can kill these guys, you can be darn sure you've killed everything else. They are the ultimate test subject. The process itself is actually pretty elegant and simple. A little vial of these spores go through the sterilizer right along with the instruments. Afterwards, they incubate it. If those spores start to grow, oops, the cycle failed. But if there's no growth, that is the definitive proof. Sterilization was a success. This isn't a guess, it's a biological fact. Okay, so we've met the main crew, but we also have specialists with very specific missions. And the first one is a dedicated hunter, always on the lookout for a subtle but totally deadly enemy. This is the Bowie-Dick test, and it's run every single morning in a special kind of sterilizer called a pre-vacuum sterilizer. Its one and only job is to find any leftover air. And why is that so important? Well, because if there's an air pocket trapped in the chamber, steam can't get in to do its job. And where air hides, sterilization fails. Simple as that. The result is just crystal clear. A pass shows this beautiful, solid, uniform color change. That means steam got everywhere. But a fail shows this glaring telltale spot right in the middle where trapped air blocked the steam. So this test makes sure the path is clear for sterilization to work perfectly. Now our next specialist guardian, wow, this one takes things to a whole other level. It doesn't just check if the process works under normal conditions. It checks if it works under the worst possible conditions you can imagine. So meet the Process Challenge Device, or PCD. This is basically a pre-made test pack that's designed to be the hardest thing in the entire load to sterilize. It's meant to mimic the challenges of, say, long, narrow tubes or really densely packed instrument trays. You could call it the ultimate obstacle course for steam. And the logic here is just brilliant. If the sterilizing steam can fight its way through this absolute worst-case scenario and pass the test that's inside the PCD, well, then you can be incredibly confident that every other less challenging item in that load is also sterile. Finally, we come to the guardian that remembers everything. This is the one that ensures every action, every test is recorded, creating this permanent, unbreakable chain of evidence. And this is all about documentation and traceability. Every mechanical reading, every chemical indicator result, every biological test, it's all meticulously recorded and linked to a specific sterilizer load. And with modern tech, like barcodes or RFID systems, you can trace every single instrument all the way back to its full sterilization history. That allows for an instant recall if any problem is ever discovered down the line. So, as you can see, it's really clear that sterility is never, ever trusted to just a single test. It's the result of a complete, interlocking system of these guardians all working together. The machine's own data is watched. The packs are watched by those color-changing sentinels. The microbial kill is confirmed by living spores. The air is hunted down, the absolute extremes are tested, and the entire record is protected. Together, all these overlapping guardians create this powerful, nearly impenetrable shield of safety. And it's so important to remember the people who operate this whole system. Behind every surgeon, behind every successful procedure, there is an invisible team in the sterile processing department, working in silence to make sure that every tool is perfectly and provably safe. And that's really the ultimate takeaway here. In the world of patient safety, you can't take anything for granted. Sterility is never simply assumed, it is proven, layer by layer, cycle by cycle, and guardian by guardian.